the chambers, they started taking selfies and even videos. They started chanting, "Freedom is ours, freedom has come." And thereafter, then they went to the National Assembly chambers. All this time, MPs, parliamentary staff, and journalists were being evacuated through the tunnel that leads all the way to basement 1, basement 2, and that is where, under very tight security, we were able to stay for at least an hour. And all this time, some MPs were lying down, others were seated. You could see the shock. You could see the unexpected turn of events. Right now, what you are seeing is police officers inside Parliament buildings. They're just sitting here, making sure that, you know what, no other invasion happens. And also, they're taking time to rest, honestly, because, you know, it's the same officers that have been engaging protesters in running battles earlier on. So it is also a time to re-energize for them, but they're saying that at some point they will have also to just order each and everyone to come out of this particular building or prisoners of Parliament. This is just one of the flags representing one of the counties. Like I told you, we have at least 47 flags that are usually just outside Parliament building, but this is just one of them that has actually been plucked and destroyed. Now, where we are heading right now, we are heading towards the Senate main chambers. But even as we head there, you can see the shattered glass on the floor, loud enough to tell you what happened here just hours or minutes before we got to this particular place. And right now, this is where the damage actually is more visible than ever. We're talking about the main chambers of the Senate. This is where they came through, and these particular flags are usually mounted on either side of this particular carpeted aisle, and they were able to turn all these flags down. They were chanting that freedom is ours, and they were saying that we have achieved what we wanted to achieve. So right now, this is just a stark reminder, you know, of this particular parliamentary invasion that happened minutes ago. And right now, some of the parliamentary staff, as you can see on the other end, they're just still in shock. I'm also going to show you something else, this particular water point area. This was also very key, instrumental, because it was used to put off the fire that actually started, was actually lit on one part of the parliamentary building, and you can see it goes all the way. So this one came in handy when they managed just to, you know, put off that particular fire. And earlier on, right now, this particular main chambers doors has been shut, but they invaded. They were inside here, and they went in, destroyed some of the equipment, the visual and audio recording equipment that are usually used to capture live proceedings of Parliament. All that has been destroyed, and this, as I say, was not expected at all today, according to parliamentary security and even members of Parliament. We're talking about Parliament of Kenya, the Senate. This is a critical government infrastructure. And so right now we're being told to leave this particular place. And so viewers, this is just part of what is happening here at Parliament buildings. And Olive, we're just still here, but right now we're being told to move out. And this is just part of that particular exercise that we told you earlier about, that we were being told as journalists to come get our stuff, our belongings, and also the parliamentary staff are being told it's time to pick each and everything that you have and to leave this particular building as fast as possible. So Olive, we're still here, but the moment you're being told to, you know, vacate completely, we'll be able now to really come out. Olive, back to you.
Seth Olale, thank you for walking us through what transpired, at least as per what we were able to see there. Damage to the restaurant members of Parliament use. We also saw damage to the Senate side of Parliament. John, your reaction to that?
First, let me answer the original question you asked, whether this has been seen before. This is totally unprecedented. We have never been to this level since, I don't want to characterize, but some of the scenes are reminiscent of the '82 coup, which escalated. One of the reasons why this is unprecedented is some of the, for example, Wakili mentioned, like the 2007 crisis. That was during a major event like an election. This is during the legislative process, and this is the citizens, saying we have a problem with this particular, bill, and nobody seems to be listening. The second reason it's unprecedented is because of the people who are on the streets. These are the Gen Z, these are the young people, these are the children of the nation, these are the children of the people in power today. The third reason, which is more important, I mean, I was looking at these scenes, they remind me of what happened in the US during the elections there when people stormed, the Congress at the time. Today, the Senate has been breached, the Parliament has been breached. There were stories about the Supreme Court as well, the perimeter of it. And even the seat of the city county, Nairobi is the capital city, and the Nairobi County City Hall was seen on flames. So this is certainly unprecedented. It's very unfortunate, and I believe that the leadership needs to have a soul-searching moment, because certainly these scenes are a populace saying, you guys have gone too far. They're called the excesses of government. When people don't listen, even public participation is not truly public participation. Sadly, this is public participation. This is the citizens saying, for example, one major outcome of this will be that Kenya will change from being a tribal-based politics to an issue-based politics.
I don't know. I'm curious, Wakili. Do you agree that this is a turning point for Kenya? That this is less, Kenya has now taken a turn towards issue-based politics. We've seen young people who say they're not divided by tribe, they are one tribe, and that tribe is Kenya.
That is the correct position. And you will see that the demonstrations today were across the country. The first billboard to be brought down was in Kericho, basically the home turf of the President of the Republic. We saw the members of his own tribe pulling down his photos, billboards, bringing down in Eldoret, where he was born and bred. We saw protesters coming out in large numbers. In Mount Kenya region, where the president got nearly 98% support, we saw people coming out in large numbers in Kirinyaga. In Kikuyu constituency, where the leader of majority comes from, we saw the members of the constituency occupy the constituency office and repulse those who had been hired to repulse them. But there are two significant things that happened today. Two arms of government were under
So just allow me. You spoke about Mount Kenya earlier, and we have pictures live coming out of Nyeri, and police chasing away those who were gathered there. I see damage to a supermarket there. I'm told a supermarket there was burnt, and police are trying to clear out. I see looting happening as well. Police are trying to clear out the area. These pictures, as you can see on your screen labeled up top there, are coming out of Nyeri, and there is damage that has been done there. I see glass on the ground. I see people running out, carrying items. So these pictures are from Nyeri. Police are trying to contain the situation. I can see a police vehicle there. Previously on Tuesday last week, these protests were largely peaceful. On Thursday, they were largely peaceful. In fact, it was the police who are being accused of excessive force. What changed to your mind, Wakili?
What changed today is that the protesters were provoked. It is the police who started...
In your opinion?
In my opinion.
In your opinion.
And I will share with you. I have been here...
But before we get into all of that, Rioba, your reaction to what we're seeing on the screen?
Mimi nataka kusema hivi, hii inafundisha kitu. Viongozi wetu wanapaswa kujipanga, wawasikilize wananchi. kwa sababu wananchi ndio wamewapa nguvu za kukaa pale, wamewapa nguvu za kuwaongoza, lakini imefikia sehemu viongozi hao ambao walipewa hizi nguvu wananyanyasa watu wao. Malcolm X alisema hivi, ukimwona mtu amenyamaza na unamfanyia mambo, ina maana ananungunika ndani ya moyo wake akilia, lakini atakapochukua asila yake aiweke wazi, ina maana lazima mabadiliko yatakuwepo. Sasa mabadiliko ndio sasa yanakuja, kwa sababu viongozi hao walifikiria wananchi hawa hawawezi kutoka nje wakafanya kitu. Sasa wameona sasa ni moto.
The protest has always been the problem of infiltration by criminal elements trying to take advantage of the situation. But the pictures you can see now on your screen are from the Kenyatta National Hospital. Earlier we heard from those who are providing medical assistance at the Holy Family Basilica that 21 from that station were transported. I believe they said, 20, they had treated 21 injured. Some of the 21 were transported to the Kenyatta National Hospital. We saw the ambulance there. And to Mbagathi, we see medical personnel out there. In total, I think they talked about 76, saying they had stations, and that was the Kenya Red Cross, at Holy Family Basilica, at the Old Saints Cathedral, and at the Jamia Mall. They were asking police not to lob tear gas canisters into those sanctuaries, because that is essentially what they are, and allow them to help those who are wounded. We saw unions, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, clinical officers, saying they were available to provide medical assistance to those who may have been injured in these protests. Prior to now, there were the two young men who were killed following the Thursday protest. Today we also saw, we even heard from our reporters on the field that several have been killed and that there were bodies outside Parliament precincts. Why, John, this escalation?
Yes.
I know that Wakili took the position that the protesters may have been provoked.
And we've been watching from morning. You'll remember that the first person to be shot dead was
I don't really want to get into that, but I just wanted to get your thoughts generally on how the police have responded.
To that directly and say, the first thing is this, two branches of government. So we are a tricameral system with the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. The legislature has the Senate and Parliament. That was breached today, both of them. And then there were talks that, or rather there were reports of the Supreme Court, precincts also being breached. And then even outside Nairobi, some seats of the executive government, like in Mombasa State House and all that, the perimeters were breached. So that's one reason for the escalation. If you had the Interior press briefing yesterday, there was a specific caution about the national critical infrastructure and people being told don't interfere with that, don't damage property and all that. So that's an element, which means the marching orders of the police force, or rather police service, were to protect lives and property, and at some point that gets breached. But to your specific comment, yes, the unfortunate part of such public protest is that you don't know which elements are in there. For example, I'll give you a good example. We saw the church there. It was not just a safe haven, but also a triage point for medical services. A lot of professionals have volunteered, the lawyers and the medics, to provide services to those who are protesting. But now, when things escalate and people are running away, you'll see that protesters will go and take shelter there, and the security forces who are already responding to what's going on in town, where we've seen.
All right, so just sorry to cut you short, John, but let's get a sense of what's happening in Nyeri as we speak.
Msiende. Kujeni. Shida, mjui itaanza kurudisha kutoka wapi. Yo. Haya nyuma yetu sasa. Tukapeleka baya kwanza. Haya nyuma yenu Yo mawe.
All right, we now cross back to the Kenyatta National Hospital. As I mentioned earlier, those who were injured in the protests were taken there to receive medical assistance. We have Willie Lusige, who is on ground. Willie, can you tell us what is transpiring?
Olive, definitely it has not been the usual day here at the Accident and Emergency Department at the KNH, because this is where they are receiving all those who have been injured during today's demonstration against the Finance Bill 2024-2025. And you have been camping here for a while, actually for like 3 or 4 hours, and you have seen so many people who are being brought in here. Most of them have been injured, especially in regard to bullet wounds. Some of them have been injured in terms of different body parts. Others have been injured on their legs, their hands, and some of them also have seen victims who have also nursing bullet wounds on their heads. And we have been camping here to be able to see what will be happening in the course of the day, those who are coming in, and also to be able to get the numbers of those who have been injured. So far, as per the statement that has been issued a few minutes ago by the Kenyatta National Hospital Communication Department, they have said they have received so far 45 victims, and they are still receiving others, so that is not the end number, but they are still waiting to be able to capture the total number of details at the end of the day. But as per my own observation, by the time that they were saying they had 45 injured victims, so far we have received more than those, and now the number is going much higher. I can say maybe most probably between 80 and 100, and we have seen some of the ambulances that are arriving here with more than 2 or 3 victims in them. Those ones that you're seeing on your screen, those are the parents, family and friends of those who have been informed maybe their relatives or even people close to them have been brought here. Because I've spoken to some of the families, they're saying they have only received calls from the Kenyatta National Hospital being told that maybe their family members or even friends have been brought here. So that's why they're camping here, to be able to see what will happen next, and also to be given a chance to get in there in the wards and to have a word maybe with their friends. But some of them who have been brought in here, they are critically injured. Many of them have been taken to, we are being told by the nurses and the doctors who have spoken to ICU because of the bullet wounds, and those ones who have not been highly injured are also being treated in different places, because the hospital, as per now, the accident and emergency wards are full. That's why they have been trying to find other places to be able to find shelter for those ones who are still being brought in. We have seen different medics, different ambulances, different organizations trying to bring in those victims without considering where they were found or even if they have their relatives nearby. And the number has been increasing since we came here in the course of the day. But as per the statement that was issued by KNH, they said the number of victims we came here in the course of the day. But as per the statement that was issued by KNH, they said the number of victims is actually 45, those ones injured, but this is because they started to receive the victims from 12 noon, and the number that they gave us, that was the total number that they had received by 3 p.m. And then it definitely is clear, you can see from 3 p.m. up to now, the number is a little bit higher. I've also witnessed more than 30 or 40 ambulances coming here, and many of them are not carrying one individual or two, but some are carrying even up to 4 hire up to more than 100 by the end of the day. But the hospital has said it requires more time because it's an emergency crisis to be able to gather more details. They said out of the 45 that they had received, 8 were female, which means the rest, which is the majority, were men. And you can definitely see that most of the victims who are being brought here, they are young people, and most of them are most probably the Gen Zs who are being involved today in the protest. We have spoken to some of the parents, to some of the families, and they have said most probably their young people left early in the morning. Some said they went to just do their normal businesses in town, but the parents in the course of the day received calls from the hospital here being told to come and be able to come here so that they can be able to have a word with the hospital because their friends or their children or their brothers and sisters have been brought here under injuries. And I spoke to some of the protesters. They said they were peaceful. Some of them, they were saying they were on activities, but they were able to be affected. One of the parents that I spoke to, whom his son was shot, and he's saying that the son is dead. He was brought here. He said that the son was in the CBD trying to get a matatu to go to Juja, but sadly he was called later to be told that his son was injured during those protests, but the son had informed close people to him before he died that he had gone to the matatu terminus to be able to get a matatu to go back home.
Willie, I'm curious. I mean, is it normal, usual for medical personnel to wait outside the reception area at the Kenyatta National Hospital?
Kama Gen Z, sijabambika na vitu zenye gava inafanya hapo hivi nje. Tumetoka tukienda peaceful demonstration, kufika pale hivyo sijini African Saints Cathedral. Hapo kando Europa wanataka kuja kutufinya. Sijui wanataka aje. Wanapiga live, wanapiga raba na wanapiga bado tear gas kwa mguu za watu. Sijui wanataka aje. Mimi ndio hii raba bullet wamenipigia kwa mguu. Ni kupoteza mguu pia mimi. Sasa hizi ndio hizi ambulance zinaingia hapa sasa hii. Wana nini? There are more than 50 people. Wanaletwa hapa hivi. Sijui mimi nashangaa na waziletwa wanajua.
Those are more patients coming into the Kenyatta National Hospital. As at now, we don't have the exact figures. We do have the exact figures were given by Red Cross earlier, but let's continue to listen in.
Wakitaka ama polisi wakuja uwe kila mtu wachome hii nchi na wabebe nchi waende nayo. Hatuwaeki saizi. We don't fear you.
One, two. Where the victim remember, this is the only place they can be able to be catered for, and this is the only hospital that can be able to handle the high number of victims who are being brought in from different places across Nairobi. Victims are being brought in here by different ambulances from different organizations or any other institutions that have ambulances are coming up and trying to help to get those victims from the town and bringing them here for emergency services. What you're seeing on your screen, these are beds that have been brought outside the hospital because inside we're being told is full. So this is the only place they can be able to receive them quickly and find a place to take them to, because we have seen many of the victims are either injured, most probably by bullet wounds. Some of them are majorly injured on their lower parts of the body, those are legs, and I've seen other victims who have also been injured even in their heads. Some of them were very critically injured, and that's why many of them have been taken to ICU. But the hospital has said it needs more time to be able to gather data, to be able to gather more information about all the victims that have been brought in by. But the statement that I've issued at 3 p.m., they said they had received 45 injured protesters, and among them 8 were female. Then definitely that is a clear indication that the majority are male, and most probably we are still waiting to see if the numbers will be rising, because that is the number that we were given by the hospital by 3 p.m. and from that time up to now the number of ambulances that have been coming here has been very high, so definitely the numbers have risen. We are not aware the actual number, but I can approximate most probably more than 100 injured victims have been brought here. Now, as you can see on your screen, there's no any ambulance yet here, because at some point we are seeing the number of the ambulances reducing. Then after a few minutes, then you see the high number of ambulances still coming in to bring more victims from all the corners of the city. We have been able also to speak to some of the family members within here who have been able to tell us what happened. They have told us most of them, they got calls from KNH, the hospital, informing them that their relatives had been brought in here. Let me speak to some of them. Tuanze na jina lako, unaitwa nani?
Jina langu naitwa Edward Ochieng.
Mbona umefika hapa?
Nimefika na kuja na mgonjwa hapa kutoka sehemu za Homa Bay.
Wewe umeleta mgonjwa wa maandamano ama si wa maandamano? Sasa tunataka wale wa maandamano. Nani ambaye labda amekuja kumuona mgonjwa wake ambaye labda ameathirika na maandamano? Some of them are wary of speaking to us, but nani hapa na mgonjwa ambaye ameletwa kutokana na maandamano? Tuzungumze naye. Dada, unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Diana.
Mbona umefika hapa, tufahamishe kwa kifupi?
Nimekuja hapa, kuna rafiki yangu amepata accident, amekuwa tao kwa maandamano na ameshutiwa. So tumekuja hapa, nataka kumuona.
Labda umefahamu vipi amepigwa risasi?
Niliambiwa, nimepigiwa simu ndo nikakuja hapa. So nataka kumuona, nataka kujua venye hali yake iko, nijue venye yako tu.
Labda mmeweza kumuona, kwa sababu tumeambiwa kwamba wengi hawajaweza kupata nafasi ya kuona wapendwa wao.
Bado sijamuona bado.
Naambiwa sababu ni nini?
Wamesema bado wako kwa emergency, lazima wangoje wahudumie kwanza ndio tunaweza kuona baadaye.
Bingo, unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Fredo Nyango. So nimeleta rafiki yangu amepigwa risasi, bati ya mguu imemkata katikati, but nimeona nikamuona ako sawa, but ako tu sawa. Alipigwa pale parliament.
Alikuwa kwa Wandamanaji?
alikuwa anaandamana. Akaingia ndani sasa after kufungua hizo mlango, hizo fence. Akaingia ndani. So
ndani ya bunge.
Ndani ya bunge ndani. So wakatoka na mabunduki wakaanza kuwashoot live bullets. So yeye akapigwa canister hapa kando. Akapigwa kwa thigh. Na akapigwa tena mbunduki ya mguu katikati. Ratosi zote mbili zimepasuka. Yeah.
Umepewa nafasi ya kumuona?
Nimemuona, nimekuwa naye huko ndani na nimeacha kitibiwa.
Kwa hivyo wanapokea matibabu kule ndani?
Yeah, anapokea matibabu. Yeah.
So you can hear from friends and family members to the victims that some of them have been given a chance to be able to see their loved ones who are still recuperating inside here at the emergency and accident department at KNH. And many of them, as those ones who have spoken on TV, you have heard definitely the injuries were to do with bullet wounds, and because most of them were demonstrators, we are yet to find out if there are any other person who had been injured who is not a demonstrator, maybe police officers. But from the hospital, what they said, they had only received 45 victims of the protest or the injuries during the protest. 8 were female, and that was the statement they gave to us at 3 p.m. But we're still waiting to see if the hospital will be able to update the data, and also apart from that, also if the number will increase, because definitely there is high number of the people who have been injured during today's protest, and they are still coming in here at the Kenyatta National Hospital Accident and Emergency Department. I want to see if I can be able to speak to some of the medics and hear if they have a word. Sister, ujambo? Labda unaweza zungumza na sisi utuambie umepokea. She has said she's not comfortable to speak with us, but we can speak to some of them. Ndugu, unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Joseph. Yes.
Naona wewe ni tabibu hapa, labda siku imekuaje? Tumeona wagonjwa ni wengi wakifika hapo waliojeruhiwa.
Yes, ndio wamejeruhiwa, lakini sasa hatuna uwezo wa kujua idadi kamili ni wangapi. Watatolewa baadaye ndio tujue idadi kamili ni ngapi, lakini wameletwa kwa wengi.
Wale wanaofika wanapokea matibabu. Tumeona wengi wamejeruhiwa sana kwa bunduki, ni kweli?
Ya, ni kweli wamejeruhiwa kwa bunduki, lakini watatoa idadi kamili.
Na kutokana na kwamba idadi ya wale majeruhi wanaoletwa ni wengi, labda changamoto ambazo mnapitia, labda kule ndani kumejaa, kuna nafasi ya kutosha kuwahudumia?
Hiyo sitaweza kuelezea kamili kwa sababu mimi si katika hiyo kitengo ya kujua kwamba ni wangapi wanafaa ni rooms zinafaa kushughulikia ni ngapi. Siko katika hiyo kitengo.
Sawa. So that is one of the medics who has been handling those victims who have been brought in, especially across the city, those ones who have been injured during today's anti-finance bill protest. And you can also see that a lot of medics have been brought in from even other hospitals to be able to help Kenyatta National Hospital to cater in regard to the high number of victims. So those ones that you are seeing, some of them have been brought in from other hospitals to be able to help those ones who have been injured. And also to highlight, many of the victims are also coming from All Saints Cathedral, where the hospital, the church had given space to medics who are offering free services to those injured. And also there's another free medical point I hear within the town, I think at Jamia Mosque. So many of the victims are also coming from those 2 points, because those are the nearest point to the city, and the first point where the victims are being taken is All Saints, and that place in Jamia. And if the doctors there are feeling that they can be able not to handle those cases, then they are sending them here at the Kenyatta National Hospital. In terms of number of those ones maybe who have died, I cannot be able to tell that, because the hospital, as we spoke to those in charge of the hospital, they said by that time they did not have any fatalities reported here, but that might change in the course of the day. So we'll still be following up to see what will happen and see what will happen in the course of the day. Olive, I'll be able to give more updates as this continues to unfold here at the Kenyatta National Hospital Accident and Emergency Department.
Thank you for that update. Willie Lusige speaking to us from the Kenyatta National Hospital there, where those who are injured in the protests are being taken. Earlier, the Kenya Red Cross said those who are seriously injured were being taken to the Kenyatta National Hospital and the Mbagathi Hospital. And Nakuru, we saw some pictures of a confrontation between protesters and the police, but the situation appears to have been contained. It appears that the running battles were triggered by the shooting of 2 protesters, but we'll have more information shortly. We'll have those pictures on your screen. With me in studio, I have John Kinuthia, and those are the images that are coming out of Nakuru next to those of the Kenyatta National Hospital. I was asking earlier, John Kinuthia is a leadership and security strategist, whether it's usual to see medical personnel outside the accident and emergency receiving area.
Sure. So this being a crisis situation, which the formal term is disaster management, because it's a crisis, or crisis management, the medics you see lining up are affiliated to the patients being brought in by ambulance. So there are two sets of medics. There are those at the hospital receiving the patients, and then there are those who are bringing the patients in ambulances. So the medic who's bringing the patient in ambulances, especially the critical cases, they're obligated to hand them over directly to the medics at the hospital so that they can brief them, tell them the status of the patient, give them their vitals, their blood pressure, their oxygen, their heart rates, and all that. And most importantly, any medical notes that are necessary. For example, if you had already administered some sorts of medications, if the hospital staff were to administer the same medications, it will be an overdose. So they need to hand over personally, hand over the patient to the hospital staff. So the ones you see queuing are the ones who have brought them in ambulances. And because this is a triage situation, which means that to the hospital staff. So the ones you see queuing are the ones who have brought them in ambulances. And because this is a triage situation, which means that the hospital emergency teams will be prioritizing the more serious cases. Especially you had the doctor or the medic at the church saying some people have very serious wounds like broken limbs and gunshot wounds, even to the head and all that. So
all right. So I'm seeing the representatives of some human rights organizations, including Haki Africa, that is Khalid, who's about to address the press there. Yes. Let's listen and then we'll continue the conversation later. Sure.
Khalid ni moja wanaharakati. We rushed here after we heard that the injured have been rushed here. We've spoken to some of the doctors, wametuambia that they've received 2 dead. When they arrived, they were already dead. One had was shot in the head, and the other one was already dead. I don't know where he was injured. They've also informed us that so far they have treated around 125. 125, most of them injuries, soft tissue injuries. Others were injured in different places. But it's really sad to see these kinds of injuries, because this procession and this protest was largely peaceful. And we didn't expect that, these kinds of fatalities would be reported, these kinds of injuries would be happening. We are very saddened, and we want to inform the state that Kenya has moved many years from those dark days, and we are not in a police state. Yes. And the police should not use excessive force on peaceful, youthful protesters. We will work with the necessary institutions, we will work with the necessary authorities to make sure those that have been killed, those that have been injured, they get justice. We cannot allow, any use of excessive force like this. And we are committed to ensure that the message gets through, that the government listens to the people. Kenya is a country that is governed by a rule of law. Yes. And police cannot use excessive force on peaceful protesters like this. Yes. Over 100 people have been treated here. Yes. We cannot have such kind of a situation. And we will stand firmly with those that are injured. We'll stand firmly with those that have been killed and make sure that they get justice.
Taxes must fall.
Yes, of course, this will not deter us from delivering the message. And the message is very clear. Reject finance bill. Why are we being forced to accept this? You cannot force this bill on Kenyans' throats. Why is the message not getting through to these people? Yeah, 204 people against 54 million. Does that even make sense? So we are saying enough is enough. Listen to the masses. Listen to the people. Yes. Come down from your high seat and listen to the voices. You can't say you want to dialogue, then you are killing people. How is that dialogue when you're shooting live bullets at peaceful protesters? That is not right. That is unacceptable. Yes. We are living in a country governed by a constitution and the rule of law. Yes. Kwa nini munatumia live bullets against people? Yes. Why are you doing that? So this is unacceptable. Na tumesema enough is enough. Yes. And we must listen to the voices of the people. Yes. Well, right now we've informed IPOA. We, of course, are waiting for the next of kin to be informed. We can't just come in. Lazima tutafute familia za wale wameuliwa, waelezewe kwanza. We must respect that. After that, of course, just as we've done with Rex, just as we are doing with Evans, we'll proceed to the post-mortem and then immediately make sure those officers who are involved are removed from the service, investigations zifanywe, and after that, washikwe, wafunguliwe mashtaka na wafungwe korokoroni. Well, they can't count, but they told us definitely some of those wounds are as a result of shooting. We have quite a number that probably is soft tissue, but they said that out of the 125 or so, a good number, they said a good number, I can't tell the number, but they said a good number are gunshot wounds victims.
So we currently have over 100 people at Jamia Mosque, so those are casualties that have not been reported. Currently we have people that are in Jamia Mosque. We have a Red Cross team ambao bado hawajafika hapa. Kwa hivyo namba ambazo Hussein Khalid amesema ni tofauti, ni wale ambao wako hapa Kenyatta National Hospital, lakini kuna wale ambao bado mpaka sasa hivi tunaweza kucollect. Lakini data itaweza kupotekana labda kesho ama kesho kutwa, lakini tunaomba sisi sote wale ambao wako saizi town, tafadhali turudi nyumbani, manake tulikuwa tushaamua ni kuanzia saa 6 mpaka saa ngapi? Saa 11. Kwa hivyo tungewaomba wale saa 12 naarifiwa hivyo. Kwa wale Gen Z na wale ambao wamekuwa na sisi, tafadhali turudi nyumbani, tujipange na tuangalie vipi tutakavyoenda, si ndio?
Yeah, we are appealing to the protesters, please, wherever you are, if you're listening, the time imefika. Please, let's end this now. Make sure you reach home when there is still daylight. Don't give them an excuse, because we know last time wale waliuliwa ilikuwa ni usiku. And this is the time when they send out goons to break into shops, to destroy property, and then they use that to kill more of our youth. So we are appealing to everyone who is out there right now. The message has been delivered. We've occupied parliament. Kila mtu amesikia message. Zakayo ashuke, reject finance bill. Please, please and please. Right now, let's make our way home peacefully and we leave to protest another day. Thank you very much.
Down, down finance bill.
Down, down finance bill.
Zakayo ashuke. Aya, kata. Hiyo ndio picha sana. Alafu msanga tusonge mbele. Tusonge mbele kwa sababu tutafunza. Leo wameamua.
naye nani?
Wako Nyeri. Kuna shida hapo. Kama